The CAA membership committee did a lot of really wonderful work this year, including inviting all of us on 2 separate occasions to join them at the screening room to see 2 Jewish-themed comedies, A Real Pain about cousins tracing their family history and their neuroses through a Holocaust trip to Poland, and Bad Shabbos, a bonkers movie about a Shabbat dinner gone completely off the rails. I can see some of you who are there grimacing a little bit. These widely released movies debuted amidst a boom in Jewish mass media content, including a brilliant Jewish comedian named Alex Edelman, not Eidman, who has an HBO special informed by his experiences growing up in an observant Jewish household. And last year at this time, the #1 show on Netflix was called Nobody Wants This. I see a lot of nods for that one too. The story of a hot young rabbi and the complexities of his relationship with his non-Jewish girlfriend. These works are not the background Jewish voice of something like Seinfeld or Curb Your Enthusiasm. These are in-your-face Jewish stories. And while I know that they are crafted by Jews, and I love being in on the references and inside jokes, I cannot figure out who they are made for otherwise. And that was the question that was running through my head as Mac and I binged Long Story Short, a new animated show on Netflix. Has anyone seen A Long Story Short yet? Oh, all right. You officially have homework for after Yom Kippur, but homework. Long Story Short is about the very Jewish story of a suburban California family. And I mean very Jewish. There is a scene that depicts faithfully a bar mitzvah candle lighting ceremony, and another that discusses the word ungepachka. The show's fealty to everyday modern Jewish American life is exceptional. But what stood out to me most of all was a depiction of Yom Kippur. Kendra, a young non-Jewish woman, finds herself in shul on Yom Kippur because she lied about being Jewish to get the day off. She walks in during the vidui, the confession, to a strong chorus of ay, 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 of the Ashamnu, and the metronomic thump of the congregants' fists beating their chests. Seeing Kendra looking like a fish out of water, the vaguely Eastern European bubby standing next to her explains that these are the prayers of confession for saying how we've sinned, how we've trespassed. Already at an emotional low point and racked by guilt, Kendra eagerly dives in. I have trespassed. I have betrayed. I have deceived. The bubby gently reaches over, stops Kendra's hand above her heart, and lovingly corrects her. No, sweetie, we have. God bless the Jewish creatives for depicting Judaism the way I want the world to see it. A synagogue that welcomes people with open arms and without judgment, stern but somehow still gentle traditional practices, an abundance of compassion, and displaying a fundamental understanding that we are all in this together. Our sins, misdeeds, mistakes, whatever word you want to use, they're not a stigma. They're a burden that we shoulder collectively. The collective confession is core to our experience of tshuva on Yom Kippur. It's in line with the Talmudic principle of Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh Bazeh. All of Israel are responsible for one another. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, a 2nd century Judean sage, illustrates this principle with a parable of passengers traveling together on a ship. One of them takes out a drill and begins drilling a hole under his seat. "What are you doing?" the other passengers frantically protest. He said to them, "What do you care? Am I not drilling under my own seat?" And they replied, "Because the water will rise and flood the whole ship." The Jewish people have always been on one big boat together, and it has always been a foundational part of our ethos that we will keep that ship afloat no matter what. It's why we take such immense pride every time a Jew wins an Oscar or a Nobel Prize, lifting our collective fortunes. It's also why it stings when a member of our people is embroiled in scandal, drilling a hole in the hull of our ship and reflecting poorly on all of us. It would be impossible to have any sort of liturgical confession in the singular. There is no such thing as Jewish accountability that exists only on the individual level. There are a lot of different ways to think about Jewish peoplehood. It overlaps religion, nationality, ethnicity, race, and culture. In the grand Jewish tradition of 2 Jews, 3 opinions, it would be very hard to get a group of Jews to agree which of those elements is most important and how exactly their Jewish identity manifests itself. I want to share one approach for thinking about Jewish identity and peoplehood from Rabbi Abraham Isaac Kook, the first chief rabbi of the pre-mandate state of Israel. Kook writes that Jewish individuals sing a 4-part song. There is a person who sings the song of the self. He finds everything his complete spiritual satisfaction within himself. And there is a person who sings the song of the nation. He clings with a sensitive love to the entirety of the Jewish nation and sings with it its song. He shares in its pains, is joyful in its hopes, and speaks with exalted and pure thoughts regarding its past and its future. There is a person whose soul is so broad that it expands beyond the border of Israel. It sings the song of humanity, and there is a person who rises even higher until he unites with all existence, with all creatures and with all worlds, and with all of them, he sings. Our song begins with the deeply personal and melds to form a chorus with the others around us. First the Jewish people, then the rest of humanity, and finally all of creation. It is a grand, harmonious cacophony. Except right now, the song is falling flat. As we approach the 2-year anniversary of the October 7th attacks, it feels like each one of those 4 spheres of connection has fractured. How can Jews feel at one with all of existence when the trauma of that day of death and destruction has not faded? A trauma that the very existence of Israel was supposed to prevent from ever happening again. Can we sing the song of humanity when anti-Semitism shows itself in the open, exposed in seemingly every corner? Meanwhile, the song of the Jewish people is under tremendous strain, riven by the moral complexities of a brutal 2-year war in Gaza and governments in Israel and America that only seek to serve their relatively narrow band of supporters. And when those songs have fallen silent, I don't know if the song of the self can break through that silence. Rabbi Sharon Cohen Anisfeld, the president of Hebrew College, has taught that when America does something wrong, Jews get angry. But when Israel is at fault, Jews become ashamed. This experience of shame is the foundation for alienation, and the primary source of danger for the future of the relationship. The Jewish world is too small to sustain the alienation of shame. A community that is as healthy, resilient, and cohesive as CAA may in fact mask how deeply divided the Jewish people are right now. We are divided generationally, politically, and religiously. Shame widens our cracks into chasms. It tears the harmony of our song apart. And although I am cautiously heartened by the hope of a new peace deal on the horizon in Israel, it will not undo the internal tensions that have been growing since long before October 7th. In the face of that internal pressure, Jews are faced with two oppositional choices. We can circle our wagons and insulate ourselves from the outside world, or individuals can lose patience with the Jewish community and simply choose to walk away. Both approaches risk severing important connections with each other and with society around us. Neither is tenable, and both are already taking place. It falls to us to weave the different parts of the fourfold song back together. The foundation for crafting a new tune, the refrain, if you will be nuance and compassion. We cannot allow our hearts to become hardened. Compassion and empathy should be limitless resources. Standing with the Jewish people and defending Israel's right to exist does not negate the human suffering of civilians in Gaza. The inhumane tragedy of hostages held by Hamas for 2 years is not alleviated when Palestinian children face hunger or when civilians are killed. And while the recent swell of international support for a Palestinian state may feel like rewarding Hamas for their atrocities, decisions to annex land and build settlement blocks in the West Bank could prevent any future hope of coexistence and will only create more enmity, shame, and isolation. The power brokers within the current Israeli governing coalition are causing harm to Israel and world Jewry, and they deserve our criticism. Millions of Israelis would agree. Tshuva calls for us to find nuance, to push Israel to do better, to minimize the extremism and zealotry that are recited as part of the Ashamnu, while also reminding the world of the promise and importance of Israel's existence, especially to Jews everywhere. We must articulate the nuance our adversaries cannot or will not, starting by talking to each other and facing our most difficult conversations with patience and honesty. We can write a song of our own that can only come from the Jewish people, a song informed by the proud history of our tradition and the resilience of surviving every enemy and challenge we have faced over thousands of years. And we can teach that song to our children and to the world. We need a song that can drown out the conspiratorial voices and misinformation that plague us so doggedly. Rav Kook closes his essay describing the spiritual high an individual who masters every element of the four-part harmony can achieve. The song of the soul, the song of the nation, the song of humanity, the song of the world, they all mix together with this person at every moment and at all times. We have a long way to get there. We can start with the song of our joint vidui, our own confession, bringing our full selves, uniting with our people, and striving to show the world a better way.